Hello, 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 and welcome to this episode of Human Better 365, a podcast dedicated to human transformation through storytelling, inspirational ideas, and good old common sense. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Today, I am speaking with an amazing guy named Hersh, and I did not ask him before the podcast how to pronounce his last name.
Rephun.
Rephun. Hersh has enjoyed an electric career as a message therapist. I love that. And as a stand-up comedian, playing gigs across the country. As a brand storyteller, he operates on one simple principle: sell the truth. And he hosts the Yes Brand podcast, helping business owners design, breakthrough messaging, and build trust with their audiences. Welcome, Hersh. How are you?
I'm great, Sabrina. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me human better.
Yeah.
Helping me, having me human better. I thought that was so I didn't know how that was going to come out, but I knew it would be funny.
Wait, you didn't know how it was going to come out of your mouth?
Thank you for giving me human better. A better human now than I was in 5 minutes ago.
Just by knowing the name of it?
That's right.
That's how good we are here at Human Better 365. You say the name and all of a sudden you are. What does human better mean to you? How about we start there, my friend?
Oh, great. Well, I love the way it sounds, because it sounds like we're given this very mysterious but simple task on Earth, which is just we made you a human. This is what you are. This is the species you are. Go. And now we have to figure out how to be the best at it that we can be, assuming we want to be the best humans we can be. And so, assuming we want to be the best, every day we got to figure out how to do it better. And so I love the concept of spending each day trying to do a better job at being human, which is, we weren't given a thing about college. We weren't given a thing about religion. We weren't given a thing about television. We certainly weren't given a show business directive, but we have to figure out. So really, if we get to the essence of it, let's try to just human better.
Exactly. I love the emphasis that you continue to put on assuming you want to human better. Because that's a real thing. Some people are not interested.
Well, they don't have, because a lot of people will say, you'll say, hey, do you want a human better? You know, like you do that man on the street thing. I'm sorry, I don't have time. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I got to go. I got a guy that he's got I got a frog I got to pick up. I can't, I don't want any hiccups. But anyway.
I think it's funny because as I've been on this journey of personal development, I've really I have found myself in a container of everybody's on the same journey. And it's kind of like smoking. Do you smoke, by the way, or vape or anything?
I smoke cigars when the weather permits, but
okay. So I forget that people smoke cigarettes. Like I just forget. And then every once in a while, I'll get the whiff of it. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, people still smoke. So it's kind of the same concept that with personal development. It's like I'm in this world of people are trying to embody this new evolution of who they are. And then I step outside of this world and I look around, I'm like, oh, there's people that are like not trying to do better and don't give a fuck about doing better at all.
Right.
Weird.
Well, or they are doing it. They just kind of push back a little against the notion of actively doing it. Like people that are truly good people, but if you tell them you're trying to human better, it just sounds very woo-woo to them. They're just not it. They're like, yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have my hands in, in somebody. So I'm trying to put somebody's heart back together. And, so the idea of it is silly to them. Doesn't mean they're not good humans.
Yeah. What about you? Personal development. Where are you at?
I'm an asshole. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Is that metaphorically speaking?
Am I allowed to say that? No, I'm not. No, I'm my doctor told me I'm literally an asshole. He said that sometimes we come out, just a little bit of in the wrong way. He says, you actually came out as an entire human, but in fact, you should have just been an asshole because
Oh my
nothing
God.
comes out of your mouth but bullshit. No, I totally made up that doctor. What are you asking me again? I'm sorry. What was the question?
Asked where you're at as far as personal development. Is this a thing in your world? Or?
I think I'm actually in a pretty good place. I just waited a long time to really, for anything to really happen. Not that I, again, like I never didn't have the intention of being better or doing a better job. I mean, I've been a parent, I've been a parent now for 31 years. So, so I think, I've obviously had my hands full, and that's just the oldest one is 31. The others are whatever ages they are. And no, and then the other four go down in age from there. And so it's like, I mean, I think though at this point I have started to do some some more mindfulness work just across, like, from meditating to quantum consciousness explorations and goal balances and things that I hadn't done in the run up to the pandemic. It's like the pandemic changed the it's so funny. What a game changer. That's how I think of the pandemic now. Oh, the pandemic was a game changer. It's like people don't think of it that way.
You're right.
But it is, right? It changed the game. Like the game was before, right before the pandemic, I was flying around the country with my business partner in an ad agency that we have, and we were trying to sign new clients, and that's what we were doing. And we did it, but it didn't work out because of the pandemic, and that canceled all the stuff we were doing. Then it was, oh, now what? Now we got to try to survive, see what that's going to be like. Are we going to survive? Am I going to get COVID? If I do, what is it going to do? Am I still going to be able to have sex, or is it going to affect my virility? I don't know how you looked at the pandemic, but that's how I.
My breathing than I was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and respiratory, right, and breathing. Well, the good news is I can still breathe. So yeah, so I mean, it changed all that stuff. It became very immediate. Then it was like, okay, what's it going to mean? And then what's it going to mean to, we all got, like, well, we didn't all, but some people were fortunate enough to have a little bit of a reprieve during that initial phase where everybody was kind of stuck and dealing with it. So we couldn't make any huge decisions about our careers or our lives. We just hunkered down.
Yeah.
And then we followed the rules in our case, we kept our hands and our noses clean, and we got through it. We got through it, and thank God. And then it was like, okay, now work-wise, are we gonna, like, my business partner and I were like, are we gonna start hunting clients again? And we, neither of us really felt like it. It wasn't that there were 50 clients banging down our door with checks signed. It was going to be like another hustle to go in. And I just got tired of the randomness of how client work would come to me. It's like you build a reputation, you got a good reputation, you get good word of mouth, you get clients, like that's, my dad was a lawyer. That's how he got clients. He didn't advertise. He didn't have social media. He was a dude with a thing on the door, and people would call up and say, hey, Josh, I heard so-and-so says you're an amazing attorney. I have this property. I have to do this thing. Can you help me out? That's what it was. And so, so it was like, okay, what am I going to do? and what kind of business model do I want to have? And that's where the podcasting started. And if that hadn't started, we wouldn't be talking, right?
Yeah.
So things have evolved, a tremendous amount, I think, over this last couple of years.
Yeah. Now we're all chasing each other with squares.
Right. Right. And they come after you, and they come after you, and they want I don't really trust that anybody who needs a credit card right away.
Really?
Well, I mean, like, I'm not talking about, like, I don't walk into, Express to buy a pair of jeans and tell them, look, I'm not ready. I would like to take the jeans home. I would like to see what you're promising as far as the stretch. I don't know that this is going to stretch. What if I'm willing to make the commitment on the spot for that, and they require the credit card. But I mean, like, does people's ability to deliver on what they promise is a really important thing. I talk about it in my book, which you can't read yet because I haven't finished writing it, but I'm in the midst of writing it, where it is there is a promise that you make as a brand, whether it's your personal brand or whether it's your, and you make a promise, and that promise has to be about something more than the transaction. That's all I really mean. So whatever you're asking, or whatever your deal is, or whatever they're chasing us around with the square that they want the card to go into, the shapes have changed in these years. It's not circles, and now it's a rectangle and a square. Rectangle has to fit into the square in order for you to get your jeans, so that's how it works. But if you're going to make a promise, make sure it's a promise you can make sure it's a promise you can over deliver on comfortably.
I love that. Yeah. You said that you were a late bloomer in business. What does that mean?
That's a lie. No, I'm a liar if that's I'm not a late blue. Well, yes, but no, but I'm not. I'm not a late. Boy, that's so funny. That comes right on the heels of me saying that you have to be honest, and you have to be like deliver and promise, and I've contradicted everything that I haven't even said in 30 seconds. What I mean is I think I'm a late bloomer in terms of true self-actualization. I'm not a late bloomer in that, I haven't, worked in 30 years and then realized, okay, I gotta get a job. I've always functioned in business. I'm a late bloomer coming to the idea of really trying to understand how I can actualize myself as a person and in business to my utmost, because I think that I've struggled with my self-perception of what my destiny was supposed to be, understanding destiny, interpreting. It goes back to the human thing, right? Yeah. Goes back to that journey of how do I human better versus what are these parameters again that I'm judging myself by? What am I expecting of myself? What am I capable of doing that it's outside my comfort zone that will help me in business, but requires a little more thinking clearly, focusing, reading more information, accepting that I'm smart about certain things. So in that way, I think I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I like to, I would look at people who are artists, friends of mine who are artists, and would not be able to manage things, right? Like business wise. And I would think I would rather be like that, but I'm but I'm a little too organized for that, and a little too, like, I'm a little too functional for that. But I love that freedom that they have to say, I can't do anything else, you know. I just can't do, I'm an artist. I can't do anything. You know, you're like, hey man, how much tip should I don't know. I'm an artist. I don't know about a tip, and I don't know, you know. Hey
That's
man,
interesting.
can you really afford those boots? I don't know. I'm an artist. What do I know about boots? I see boots. I want to put them on. I don't know. I'm an artist. I can't, you know, and I can't be, you know.
That's interesting that you are, I don't want to say self-aware enough as if like,
oh, but I am,
or whatever,
yeah.
but to even think of that, like looking at these people, yeah, because I know exactly who you're talking about. I've got a handful of those, but I've never thought to myself, that must be nice. But I can totally see that. Like now that you're saying it, I'm like, that actually must be nice.
Well, because I started as an actor, comedian, writer, and then I got into advertising, and I was looking at the two for so long as polar opposites that I had chosen to also represent directors, represent artists as not as an agent in the Hollywood sense, but as a rep and publicist in the commercial production and post world. So working for artists, the directors, film directors, filmmakers, all that stuff. And they, you know, and I'm not generalizing about them, but meeting a lot of artists and being the kind of more like organized person who's supposed to organize stuff for them, right? Like even as I was starting out as a young person in the business, picking up their dry cleaning or getting their mother to the airport or whatever it was, right? That was, you know, the artist couldn't be bothered with that, couldn't deal with that. They don't know how to deal. They were an artist, right? Can you get my mom today? I don't know why. All you got to do is drive her to I don't know what it was from an airport. Come on, you know. So I got the agency over here and they want me to I get doing a pre-light and a thing. And you know, yeah, I don't know.
I want to ask you about pivoting because it seems like you've pivoted quite a bit. And I know that there are so many individuals in today's day and age who, first of all, are afraid to make commitment to anything because they feel like they have to do that one thing for the rest of their life. They're like, can't conceptualize pivoting. And then two, the individuals who are doing the same exact thing, they're absolutely miserable with what they're doing. They're not interested in it whatsoever, but then just scared to death to switch. And you made a big pivot or a few pivots. How does that work? Is that natural for you? Is that something you've grown to feel more comfortable with? What's your journey with that?
So first of all, you mean like in ballet? Is that what it is? The thing where you spin around? Is that what that's pirouette. That's a pirouette.
How's that working for you?
I'm not doing a pirouette. No, I can't. No, I was just thinking of like Black Swan and all that stuff. So
good movie, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Well, okay. So in terms of pivot, my advice would be if your feet are broken and bleeding, you probably should have pivoted before. But now that you see what's happened, you know, it's definitely a good idea. So yeah, I have pivoted. But you're right about the misery part about, you know, sometimes it's so funny how as wild as kind of where, you know, I'm kind of in that mood where I've, you know, kind of surfed from silly to reasonable and all that and back. But that human thing is exactly that. We get swallowed up by expectation and by parameters and rules and things that we've been fed and told and absorbed or put in front of us, put in front of ourselves. believed all these things that have led us to, in a lot of cases, misery, right? Like whether it's self-imposed or imposed by society, or we take it, or we want it, or we want the thing that's at the end of that rainbow, but we just have to go through a lot of misery, we think, to get it.
Yeah.
So it isn't always like, woe is me. We choose a lot of these things. But the pivoting that I had done was more what I think is ping ponging. Like I would pivot to writing a screenplay because, well, at first I would do the work. In my early 20s, I worked just to survive while I was writing screenplays, right?
Wow.
Then I started developing a career while I was writing screenplays. Then I sold a couple screenplays, not for enough money to make a career change, but enough for me to think, okay, I should keep doing screenplays, And so I would ping pong around based on my fortunes. So when I say like that's what I got tired of. I got tired of not knowing, like, am I gonna get hired to write something creative, or am I gonna get hired to write a press release? And I'll do whichever one I get paid to do first.
Yeah.
And as that happened, but I always had this same principle that my dad had taught me, which is if you're going to do something, do it right. So don't suck at anything. Don't half-ass any of it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get paid to be in a play, be the greatest actor you can be. If you're going to get paid to write a play, be the greatest playwright. And if you're going to be paid to publicize the play, be the best publicist you can be. So I was trying to be the best at whatever I was getting paid to do. But I think I realized that at a certain point, I really have some things that I'm good at that I like to do. And one of them actually is the advertising, marketing, brand messaging part of it. I got so caught up in choice, in my vision of what I thought I had always wanted, that I didn't realize that what I wanted was something that I created, I didn't want job A versus job B. I wanted job Hersh. I wanted me to create this thing, which is where Yes Brand came from. This merging of comedy and creativity and brand messaging and serious exploration of who I want to be as a brand, meaning my clients, and what they want to stand for and how they want to communicate themselves, their message.
Yeah. How are you doing that as far as parenting goes? I love the saying half-ass. My mom used to say that too. Don't half-ass anything.
Don't half-ass it.
Yeah. But are you implementing very similar thought processes as your dad did with your kids, or how are you flowing through that, considering, you're now coming into this new revolution of I can do Hersh?
Yeah. Well, I have taken a very similar approach to what both my parents did in a lot of ways, which was to teach by example. They would say certain things, and my dad did have some very key pieces of advice, but mostly it was watching him carry himself in the world, watching my mom make sacrifices for her kids, watching them operate as a team, all those things that they didn't say, now, this is how you make a marriage work or not. This is how you make a job work. This is how you make your education pay off. They didn't have a playbook that they shared. They just were good examples, I think. And also some things that were not super important to them that I think are good things to learn and have handy, certain management skills, when it comes to whatever it might be. It's not, fortunately, they set mostly really, really good examples of humaning and parenting. But I feel like, so with my own kids, the best thing that happened was that I was able, at least, when my older kids were even still young, decide for myself that I did need to have the freedom to be creative and to see where some of those roads led, even when money wasn't at the end of that road, that there might be something other than the payday at the end of a road that we take, that there might be some other fulfillment other than money that we might find. And we might trade the Instacash for what's behind door number 3, even though we know, okay, it isn't money. And then I think what you learn as you go through life is, oh, you know what was really funny? There actually was money behind that door. There was some money behind that door. Maybe, I don't know how much it was, but it was there. It actually was there. And when I went through that door, I saw another door and there was another thing, and they had a check for me there. But I didn't know that when I went in. And so I try to help them understand that your heart can be a really, really good barometer or good GPS system for a lot of tough decisions. And I try to teach them that whatever decision they make, if it's going to lead to their happiness, it's okay with me. You know, that I love them unconditionally is a biggie in terms of what my wife and I try to teach our kids and have the kids all know, because it's possible for kids to not know that or not get that.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of happiness, tell us about the happiness formula.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, that's also fairly new, a fairly new development, not happiness, but just the formula, where I realized with Yes Brand is that it's based on the yes and rule of improvisational comedy, where you accept the offer that your scene partner makes, no matter how outrageous, and you build on it so that together you're building something, as opposed to saying no, which in comedy doesn't work because it stops the imagination of the scene. But in life, I realized we also are doing that. A lot of times people come into our world in the course of life, and they'll present something and we will automatically shoot it down, maybe based on principle. And that's okay to have. It's really important to be principled. And that's more important than anything else in a way. But that doesn't stop us from letting them play this out, this scene, and helping them play this scene out. Because what I think the happiness formula is, what if we can just accept the offer that the other person makes in principle, let them have their say, finish it out, play it out, see where they're going with it, and then decide whether what they're doing is for us or what they're even proposing is for us. So it's not crazy, it's not outrageous, but in today's world, it doesn't happen often enough. And I think, so that's where I hope that maybe the Yes Brand method, which I'm starting to show other young writers, creatives, even business owners who want to have a little bit of a different approach to their messaging, because that's what I do with them. I do this message therapy, why I call it message therapy, with my clients, because a lot of people are missing that finding themselves step. They're so eager to come up with clever copy or hire someone to write the copy or get it done, get it out of the way. And they haven't done that. You know how in therapy you could have a breakthrough moment, right?
Yeah.
And you realize what the root of the problem is. And oh my God, I have to do this now. I realize this now. I have to do this. And a lot of times with brands, they're not doing that part. And a lot of copywriters are not therapists, and I'm not a licensed therapist.
You're a dad.
I'm a dad, and I'm a licensed patient. I mean, you know, I definitely, that's why I saved all those wristbands, you know, from my hernia operation and whatever else I have from
Yeah.
from the pediatric ward. You know, I have my credit. I have my cred from
Yeah.
that from being a patient and being you know, a parent.
Right.
So I do have the, but I have, I think, the requisite sensitivity and empathy to listen to them talk about their brand and be able to have hopefully a breakthrough with, and it's not, it doesn't, fortunately, unlike psychotherapy, it doesn't take 20 years because it isn't necessarily a crisis that they're facing, but they are facing a choice. And
Yeah.
I try to talk through with them who they want to be and I listen. That's the
Yeah.
difference between, you know, uh, being sometimes a comedian doesn't listen to the audience. A comedian feels the audience's vibe and goes with that. But
Oh.
but stand-up comedy is not a conversation with the audience, really. It's a
Oh.
monologue. It's a monologue. It's not a
Okay.
dialogue. Not really having a dialogue with the audience is a stand-up. Is that surprising, Sabrina, that I would say
Not
that?
surprising. I've just never really even thought of it. I mean, I'm not a comedian of any sort, so never thought of it.
Oh,
But
well,
now
you're
that you're
funny. You're funny. You have tremendous energy and presence.
thank you.
And
I do
yeah,
low key have a like on the bucket list to
yeah.
kind of go down that journey and just see. Because I
Ooh,
have been
okay.
told that I'm low key funny, and so much so that it's
Loki
coming.
funny, like in the Marvel universe sense. I don't know that Loki is
Like that,
considered
I
that
don't really
funny.
talk about it. I don't really like. I
Oh,
don't.
low key. I get
Yeah,
it.
it's just kind of
Okay.
like it's on the down low. Like people who know me will be like Sabrina's funny. But just normal people who just like are in and out of my life. I mean, you're a comedian, so I'm feeding off of you. Like, I
Yeah.
can kind of like banter a little bit back and forth and you get it, you can pick up on the wittiness of it because you're in the world of that. But normal people, when I do something witty, like for instance, bring something forward from back, they don't even catch it. Like they can't even conceptualize
Yeah.
that that was a joke. But in my mind, I'm like, that was fucking funny. But they just don't see it or catch it. But my son now, who's 19, has my same humor.
Oh,
And we
okay.
go back and forth like it's hilarious all day. Like we'll have all day banter from like 2 days ago, bring it forward. And so it's I am recognizing like, wow, with the right audience, if you're in a view of like this is supposed to be funny, people might actually view me as being funny.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with what you're saying as far as feeling the audience, improv, and I'm also keen in on this because yesterday in our Empower Hour for females, I have a female Empower Hour. I had a woman, Julie Cotton. I don't know if you know who she is, but I'm going to connect you to
No.
her. She's an improv
Okay.
coach, an improv coach. She was
Ah,
hilarious. So she had all of us on. There was like 12 or 13 of us women on, and she had
right.
us just hilarious things, but it all ended up on the same concept that you're talking about as far as yes and like yes to everything that's going on in your world. So it's almost
Yeah.
like it's like a therapy, like yes to everything you're saying and this in life because it's all
Yeah.
improv.
Yes. And it is. And that's the thing. I think I say in the book, um, I say at one point, I'm an and person. You know, I used and a lot. I realize I've done that my whole career. I am an and person. Oh, Sabrina is effervescent and inventive. You know, it's like I put the two superlatives in there. Why? I don't know. I'm an and person. Better to add something that feels right than limit ourselves. So
I do the
that
same thing. I use and
yeah.
everywhere. Is that a
There you
thing?
go. No, no, this is just something we're hitting on now. I've never mentioned it. I only
I always
mentioned it
just
because I wrote it in the book today, and I had never told anyone else.
it's a thing then because I am also and I totally like resonate with that. Even when I'm
Yeah.
like describing somebody or doing something, I always do threes. So this, and this.
Oh, yeah. I
Always
do it's similar. I do something similar to that, and
this and this.
I used to think, well, maybe it's an error. Like, should I? But I have a pretty good ear for readability and flow, and if I feel it's too much, I'll rein it in. And sometimes I will have an and that doesn't need to be there, you know. But really, if you think about it, all the best people have ands, you know. It's like there's something more to say there,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So it's just something that I find, and it's interesting with the Yes brand moniker, because I realized, oh wow, that's a really funny. I hadn't thought about just in linguistic, you know, that I use and so much, you know.
That's
But you should
phenomenal.
be proud of it. You
Well,
should be
I am
proud.
proud of it.
You should be proud and excited to be using so many wonderful words and phrases.
Can we start a group, like a gang? Can we have like an and gang?
Yeah, the and gang.
We could be like the
And
and
what?
crew.
And I'll
So
tell you,
listen, Hersh,
yes.
we're wrapping up here. But before we wrap up, I want to ask, sell the truth. Let's wrap this up. Tell us what you do, all the things, Hersh, and then what is this sell the truth? How does this embody you?
Okay, sell the truth embodies me because in all my adventures in branding, in film, storytelling, acting, you know, stand-up comedy, the through line of everything has been the truth, and not on an ethical or moral basis, but just that reality has always fascinated me, and it can be absurd, it can be crazy, unbelievable, it can be reassuring and comforting and heartwarming, and it can just be fun and silly. But the reality of it is what makes comedy work. And so what I've reasoned through my Yes brand method and all this stuff in working with clients is that the best relationship they're ever going to have with their consumer is an honest one, right? So figuring out how to say the best possible thing about their brand isn't selling the truth. The best thing they can say about their brand is the truth. So if they said, "Oh, I have a laundry detergent and it gets out nearly every stain done by blank blank, that all the lawyers came up with what it actually does." Or they said, "You know what? Some stains are just not gonna fucking come out of your kid's pants." You know what? You know what we do? We celebrate the ones that don't come out, the stains that don't come out, the hard-won stains that just are from grit and rolling around in the dirt. Those stains we can't get out. And anybody who tells you they can is full of shit. But we know the difference between a stain that can come out and a stain that you should just celebrate and consider a victory. That would be really refreshing. That's selling the truth. That's what to me, you know how they say results may vary. They show you weight loss program and they go, "Oh, this was beforehand. And the after is in 20 days, he made $1 million and lost 70 pounds. And now he's nominated for an Academy Award." And it's like, yeah. And he's just ripped and his hair grew back. And it's like, results not typical. It's like, I'd rather see a dude who's still 20 pounds overweight, hair still looks the same, and he's still got a pimple on his ass. But you know what? Most people lose between 16 and 20 pounds, and this guy did. Results typical, So that's selling the truth. You want typical results? This is the likelihood. You're going to lose 20 pounds, maybe 16 to 20 pounds in however many months. That's pretty typical of what happens. Okay, I can live with that. Right? I like their honesty. That's the sell the truth.
Yes. You know what's interesting about that is I feel as if nothing focusing, right? I'm not focused on one scenario, but I can feel that I have actually bought products from somebody or whatever it was because of that. And I actually remember thinking to myself, like, wow, good on you for being so open and honest about the actual results.
Yeah.
And really feeling like I could trust them because of that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And if you're adding, in my case, creativity, humor, a sense of humor about the reality of it, and that diffuses the tension. It also reinforces trust.
Yeah.
Because they can laugh at the truth. They're not what do you call it? They're not flippant about it. They're just honest. So that's something we can work toward.
I love it. So we have a large audience watching us live right now. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. And
thank you for being alive.
Listening live. Yes, exactly. That's always fun. So if you could do us a favor and share this video wherever you're at, so that as we're kind of coming to an end, it'll upload and play for others that are out there in the world, for them to hear all the goodness that was shared today. If you are watching this on the replay and you're coming in a little late, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're at, and we can show you some love. But I want to ask Hersh, for those that are watching live or on the replay, they're hanging out here, they've been listening for 40 minutes, they're enjoying all the goodness that you're saying, who should be contacting you? Who should be getting in touch with you? Who do you work with? And where can they find you?
Okay. Well, the people who should contact me, there are 2 clients that still owe me money that have, and if they're listening, you know who you are, because there's only 2 of you. And one of you owes me $1,000 and the other one owes me $1,250. And just so you know, I'm not wasting your time. I mean, $1,250, not $12.50. I would have let go. I would have let that go. So that's the first thing. So if you're listening, if you're one of those 2 people, prick up your ears and pay attention, because I'm going to tell you how to get in touch with me. The rest of you who would never do that, would certainly never do that, because you're humaning better. You're better humans. You wouldn't do that. If you're an entrepreneur, if you have a small business, or you have a business that's successful, but you're trying to get to the next level, and you've got this kind of plateau fever that you can't shake the sameness that you're feeling of trying to get to another level of awareness and sales or whatever you're trying to do. So I can probably help you in terms of your messaging, provide a little message therapy, hopefully get a little bit of a message breakthrough and find your voice and figure out how to convey that message with humor and humanity. Then there's a chance that I can help, and I'm happy to do so. And you can find all the different things about me with one web address, which is infone, infone.co, infone.co/Hersh, HERSH. And that will deliver for you a keypad with every link to all of my shows, all of my signups, all of my podcasts, and my websites and my services. So everything will be on there.
Is that it?
Infone.co. You have to actually give it the it's not com, it's co. So infone.co/Hersh. You were very close.
Okay, maybe it's still wrong though. Let's see.
No, that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Also, I would like to notate, anybody who is short $12.50, Hersh will lend it to you and not ask for it back.
So yeah. Well, now with your now with the audience that you have, Sabrina, now I'm going to get a million requests for $12.50.
Just hit him up in his Cash App.
That isn't how I meant to say it, but but never lend money. Don't lend money to people with the expectation you're going to get it back. If you provide services, you should be compensated. And I get it. Where none of us are too hip to have a square. We can all have it.
End of story. Yeah. I love it. Well, this was fun. I so appreciate you, your humor, your goodness, and everything that you shared today. For those of you listening live or on the replay, if you resonate with Hersh and all of the goodness that he shared today, make sure to check out the website here. There's also a website above his head area. Where do you hang out at? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter?
LinkedIn is big. LinkedIn, I'm LinkedIn and Instagram. And there's a Hersh4, the number 4 all on Instagram, and that has some fun stuff. And They can also check out 3 Times Daily Comedy on Instagram, which has a bunch of just survival comedy videos, just videos that I made during the pandemic that help us get through the day and laugh. And so, yeah, 3X Daily Comedy is the prescription for sanity in a crazy world. So that's another one.
I love it. Well,
Thank you,
so
Sabrina.
much. Yes, I thank you for being here, hanging out on the Human Better 365 podcast. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with humans who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share, please reach to me, humanbetter365.com. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth, inspire others, and all